Yes, team. Welcome to another episode of Mind Mastery with Jake O'Connor. Today, I've got a special guest. I'll let Kat introduce herself, but I've been doing a bit of research around kind of Kat and kind of been digging in and seeing what she's been up to. And yeah, it looks like she's doing some incredible stuff in the world. Kat is, to my understanding, Kat, correct me if I'm wrong with this introduction, but she is a TEDx talker. She did a TEDx talk in 2024, I believe it was. She is the director and founder of the Morning Gamechanger. And she's also an international speaker, and she's just doing some really, really cool stuff in the world. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on, Kat.
Thank you. I love coming on other people's podcasts. It's so nice.
Yeah. Was that introduction right? Like, if you were to introduce yourself to the listeners, like, how would you do it? Like, who are you and what do you do?
This is such a good question because I feel like I've been put in a box of motivational speaker, and I say that with like inverted commas because I think we've all seen speakers that have not lit us up. And I think there's an expectation of what a motivational speaker is going to do. So I actually sort of don't brand myself so much as a motivational speaker, but as a positive habits expert and teacher, and just somebody who just loves helping people create one positive habit change. And that's I think that's now my mission in life.
Yeah, lovely. And you go into organizations and do that, or do you do that one-to-one too? Like, what's the
funny story, and this is why I think it's important for us not to see failure as a bad thing, or when things don't go the way you expect them to not give up. So when I actually started my business, I was so sensible. I was a CEO before I started my business, and I gave myself this big runway. You know, I had savings, and I started to reduce my hours, and I was building up, and I was investing in these coaches who were helping me build like a one-to-one coaching offer. And I thought, this will be easy. I'll just coach other stressed out execs just like I was, and they'll invest and I'll be able to help them, and this will be amazing. And it completely like flunked. My first year of business, I made 500 quid. I nearly lost my house. Like, I burned my savings, and I was desperately looking for a job the whole time. And it was only fortuitously a call from my old boss, who called me just at the moment before I was about to pack it all in. And he said, "Oh, I've seen your positivity stuff on LinkedIn. I really like it. Will you come and speak to 100 Norwegians on a yacht in London?" And this was an event we used to run together. And I said to him, "Well, yeah, absolutely." I said, "You're going to pay me?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll give you 500 quid. So I thought, brilliant. So I've doubled my money in the year. And that was it. I delivered a talk to 100 Norwegians, and they loved it, and I loved it. And I just thought, I've been going the wrong way about this. But it's almost done a full circle now after 4 years. People come to me now and say, "Do you do one-to-one?" So I am sort of open to it, and I'm definitely going to explore it. But my priority at the moment is teams. Yeah. I think that's where I'm really seeing the impact, and that's where I get a lot of joy.
Amazing. What made you, because obviously there's going to be a lot of high performers listening, whether they're executives, business owners, whoever it is that's tuning in. And I'm curious to understand, like, what made you want to stop the executive route, the corporate route, and dive into running your own business and helping those kind of people?
Oh, it's so simple. I nearly killed myself. Like, literally, my habits destroyed my life, and I allowed them to do that. And I think one of the real challenges with being a high-performing, highly ambitious individual is that sometimes you are running so fast that you can't see the impact of the choices that you're making. And for me, I feel like I had to reach rock bottom in order to make some really dramatic changes. And it's taken me years to talk about this, years to rebuild myself. But now, for me, positive habits are a way of life. They're a way that I choose to live my life. And I also know they are the foundation of me being able to perform at the highest possible level, both personally and professionally. And yet I think a lot of high performers and just anyone, I think we're constantly met with these societal rules and expectations of how we should do things. I mean, I was at a fitness event on Saturday, and one of the girls that we did a collaboration with a gym, and one of these girls turned up. You know, she works in a gym, and she's just drinking the biggest can of Monster I've ever seen, and you know, it's so interesting. And like energy, I used to drink Red Bull, a lot of Red Bull, especially in the morning, and it's like one of those drinks now I can't smell, I can't be around, it makes me feel sick. But again, I think, you know, what's the first thing people think about when they wake up? It's like coffee. It's like, I'm tired, here we go again. And because I was stuck in that cycle as well. But it was this strange paradigm, because on one hand I was successful, like I had an incredible career, I ticked almost everything off the dream life wish list. But on the inside, the habits that were creating this life were crumbling, and they were actually destroying me. There's sometimes I come across, you know, high performing like leadership teams, and they can almost dismiss me before they've even heard what I've got to say, because it's uncomfortable, I think, to actually look inside of ourselves and say there are some things that I'm doing that aren't actually conducive to my professional or personal goals.
And you know what I've found as well, obviously being in this field too, is that a lot of the time high performers can associate these specific habits or beliefs or emotions or whatever it is with their performance. So they see that as, well, if I'm going to take the coffee at 6 a.m. away, or if I'm going to take the phone away as soon as I open my eyes, then what am I going to be left with? Am I still going to be able to perform? Is that something that you see too? Like there's a like a bit of a fear around, well, how will I perform? It's the unknown, basically, isn't it? It's like, well, if I take that away, i.e. the Red Bull or the coffee or the phone or whatever, like, am I still going to be able to perform to the standard that I'm performing?
Yeah, but that's the ego, I think. And so my whole ego was attached to this global commercial director personality and kind of role that I had. And because I was flying all around the world, because I was, you know, creating a lot of you know, other, like hitting a lot of other goals in my life, I think I was completely under this illusion that I had to look at my phone first thing in the morning. I had to constantly be in a state of stress. You know, my heart would be racing the minute I woke up. And I say this now on stage, you know, what's one of the first things you do in the morning, usually with one eye shut? And every single person answers the question exactly the same, because they are also doing it for the most part. And I think it's that. So the biggest lesson that I've learned in my career, and what happened was that it's the polar opposite of what we are taught. So I was taught, and my father gave me this very ingrained belief, which was the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. And actually, that's not completely true. I fully believe in hard work. I think we do need to work hard. I think it's really important to be focused and go and push for your fears and work towards your goals. But ultimately, the more you invest in yourself, the better you perform sustainably. And I didn't realize until I broke myself that actually when I started journaling, that was one of my first habits that I developed. I started to write down what was actually going on in my mind, and I realized all of these, I suddenly like had these kind of clarity moments that this wasn't, how did I get to this point? And actually that was what led me to start the Morning Gamechanger, because I knew something was missing in my life, but I actually thought at the time it was a baby. I thought it was because I hadn't had kids. And it wasn't. It was like this, it was this mission that was sitting inside of me. But and unless you give yourself some space, like, you don't know exactly what you're feeling or how to tap into it. And nobody's really teaching anyone any of this. And I think everybody is so stuck in this, you know, even if you go to a card shop, this is a really good example, right? Look at all the typical greeting cards. What are they?
What, but like birthday cards and stuff?
Yeah, like if you go to like a card shop, it's like happy birthday, it's
Yeah.
congratulations on your engagement,
Yeah.
your first home, congratulations on your wedding, There's not congratulations on staying in business for 5 years and being an absolute rock star. There's not congratulations on leaving a toxic relationship that wasn't serving you anymore. There's not congratulations on, buying a house outright so you're not stuck in a ever continuous circle of, mortgage interest rates going up and never actually being able to have enough money to do anything else. Like, that doesn't really exist. So every sort of, I think we get these messages from so many different places that this is what you should be doing. And when my whole life blew up at the age of 34, I had been following a script all this time, and now I've broken free of that script, and I really have to still be careful and catch myself and make sure that I'm not kind of falling back into those patterns and beliefs in society.
I think it's really interesting, like what you've been saying about the societal messaging, even the performance game of it's exactly what you said there about you don't have to necessarily work hard. You don't necessarily have to work all the hours in the world to have a good life, right? I think I've been doing a bit of kind of thinking around that, where does that come from? And I listened to a recording that my coach sent me, and it comes from the Industrial Revolution. Back then, it was all just, you go to work, you get paid a certain amount for a certain amount of hours, and you clock out and you're done, right? But now we're in the kind of knowledge era where you can get paid a year's salary in half an hour if you really wanted to. Anything is possible. And I think that we're still caught in the old way of thinking, right? In the old way of, trading time for money. And there's this whole kind of perception around, if you're clocking off at 5-6 o'clock, then are you even doing your job properly?
Yeah.
And I see it a lot with my clients too. And actually, it's about creating the space and the containers for them to be able to slow down. Because a lot of my clients are thinkers and business owners and stuff like that. And Thomas Edison, the guy that invented the light bulb, he was probably one of the busiest men in the world at the time in regards to inventions and stuff. And he used to go down to a lake every single day, and he went with a bamboo pole or rod, and he would just hang the bamboo over the lake, and he had no bait or no hook or anything on the line, and he would just sit there for an hour. And someone came up to him and said, "Thomas, you're the worst fisherman in the world." But he did that to create the space, and he was stuck on a material for the light bulb, or I think it was the light bulb at the time, like a filament. And surprise, surprise, he used bamboo because he created that space to think. So I completely resonate with what you're saying, and I think it's a really important thing to be able to just create some space, just live your life too, it doesn't have to be hustle all the time.
Yeah, but think about it though, and this is another really scary stat that I read recently, and it's now made its way into all my talks, which is that we could be losing on average 20 to 40% of our productivity a week, which is the equivalent of a whole day, due to just one habit. I'm sure you can work out what that habit is, but it's not, people always say it's phones, but it's more than that. It's this constant task switching. It's the disruption of our concentration. And it's one of the reasons why I love doing work in person. I do some remote work, but really my passion is being in front of people, because when you're in front of people, it's much harder to be distracted. It's much harder to kind of have your attention going elsewhere. Whereas when you're doing work online, especially in teams, in large groups, people have picked up these really unhealthy habits of multitasking, and then actually their attention is nowhere. And I think also one of the other things I talk about a lot is, if you think about it, the average person, from the moment they wake up to the moment they close their eyes, they are consuming. So we are now in a state where we are over-consuming and we are underproducing, and no wonder we have a world full of people who feel exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed, highly anxious. It's no surprise to me at all. And I say this with compassion, because this was me. This is exactly how I lived my life. I mean, I went through a wedding with somebody that I shouldn't have married because I was running so fast in my life, and I never gave myself a second to breathe, to actually check, like, just because, like, I was at that age where, you know, everyone was getting married. Should I actually marry this person? Why was I actually getting married? I don't even now, I'm not even sure now at the age of 44 how I feel about marriage. So how could I have possibly been ready to marry someone then? So I think, you know, we are constantly, if you look around, look at a bus stop, look in a restaurant, look when you're in your home and your partner or your friend goes to the toilet when you're watching Netflix together. Every single moment is taken now from us and is used to consume. And so that's why I think people are feeling the way they are. And I think that's why there's so much work that needs to be done to support people. And I truly don't believe that, whilst I believe we need to take responsibility for our actions, I think this isn't necessarily our fault. It's the way that the world is now evolving with technology, but also with food and with connection. Like, things have changed and our habits have naturally changed with it.
Yeah, well, the opposite of addiction is connection. And it sounds like to me there's a lot, well, not it sounds like, I know for a fact there's a lot of addicted people out in the world, whether that be to work, to phone, to food, to drugs, to alcohol, to porn, like whatever it is. There's so many distractions in this world. And I think it comes back to being a creator versus a consumer. And I've really limited, like, you'll be pleased to know I've got two phones. The work phone goes off when I'm off. I've got Opal, which blocks me out of my apps like 2 hours before work and 2 hours before bed. And you have to take control of the digital devices because they've got the world's best psychologists working on these apps to pull you in. Like, it's have you seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Yeah, it's terrifying. I think that's the episode that really, it's the only one I can, no, I'm thinking of Black Mirror. There was
have you not seen
I have seen The Social Dilemma, which is also terrifying.
Yeah.
But there was it just made me think of this, an episode in Black Mirror, I can't remember what it's called. But it was basically, it's a really freaky episode. And I remember sitting, watching it, thinking, this is so, imagine if this was true. So I'll tell you the quick overview and then tell you what I thought about it. So there's a woman on it. So it starts off with this main character. And everyone in this episode has got a flashing rating above their head, like one you can actually see. And so they are all trying to improve their ratings. So if you so she goes and buys a coffee. So I can't remember what rating she starts with. Let's say she's 6.5, right? And the guy behind the counter is like 7.5. She's so desperate for him to like her, like that she gives him such a massive tip for this coffee. So he'll give her an increase in her rating. Because the higher your rating, the more things are available to you. So that you see this really uncomfortable fake exchange in the coffee shop where she's massively overpaying for this coffee. He's pretending as well, and it's just so uncomfortable to watch. Then she goes to a wedding, and she's only going to the wedding because the two people who are getting married have got like 9 point something scores. So she knows if she goes to that wedding, she's got a good chance of increasing her score. However, when she gets to the airport to fly to this wedding, they say to her, oh, sorry, we don't accept people with 7 and under. So then she has to rent a car, and then the guy with a car rental says these are the only cars for 7 and under. So these are all these crappy cars. She ends up getting this crappy car and it breaks down. Then she has to like hitch a ride. And anyway, this whole episode is just, and then I sat for a second after and I thought, oh my God, this is actually like real life, just without the actual flashing numbers.
The external validation.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying.
It sounds like a lot of our work go hand in hand because I think when people take away those vices, like productivity, for example, you mentioned productivity, right? How I look at productivity is like a Formula One car. But then we've kind of got the added third element, which I'll explain in a minute based off our conversation. But you've got the driver and you've got the car, right? So the car is your physiological state, is your body, right? Are you getting good sleep, good nutrition, good water, good training, like all of those things? And if a client comes to me and says, oh, Jake, I'm on procrastinating, taking away obviously the immediate kind of, well, are you getting distracted by your emails and stuff? We actually look at the car first, and if any of their scores are below a 7, I'll say, right, before we do any of the emotional work, go away and get those to above a 7, right? Because as you know, like sleep and stuff, that's so important. And then if they come back to me and say, yeah, Jake, they're all 7 or above, we then look at the driver. Like, is the driver so emotionally stimulated that he can't get the work done? Is he anxious? Is he overwhelmed? Is he in fear? Does he not believe that he's actually good enough to do the work that he's in the position to do? And based from this conversation, there's actually a third part, and I haven't named it yet. Maybe it's the tires, I don't know, but it's the phones, and it's the distractions, and it's the digital devices too. And yeah, I just think like a lot of people are going through this world struggling with productivity, but I think it's a double-edged sword, because there is this whole kind of productivity era where we're expected to do a million and one things in a day. Partnered with Instagram, you're looking at someone's life and they're on stage speaking, and you think, well, why am I not doing that? And then you end up just beating yourself, and you're in just this constant spiral and in this constant loop. I mean, I don't know if you kind of relate, or I don't know if you resonate or even agree, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think, someone said to me the other day, we kind of don't factor in the amount of emails we need to do. So if you think about it now, we get so much more information like in our daily work. So you can sit and plan your day. Let's say somebody typically works like 8 till half 4 or whatever in an operational role, but they're not taking into consideration that they have 3 hours of meetings, 2 hours of emails to respond to, and then take away some time for distractions and task swapping and the odd other thing comes up, and they almost have zero time to do any work. So I think, and I have felt like that a lot in the past as well. And I think that it's, if you ask most people, what do they do when they when they start work in the morning, if you've got an operational role, the number one answer is that will be emails. And for me, it's like the worst way to start your day, because you start in a reactive state, and you start prioritizing based on everyone else's priorities, not your own. And so, but again, like, who's saying that it should be any different? Like, when you get a job and they give you a laptop and they give you the role and the responsibilities, and then you start doing the job, like, no one then is saying this is a good way to manage your email, or this is a good way to manage this or that. Same with meeting etiquette, same with copying people in and all these things. So I think we procrastinate for a number of reasons, but I think ultimately, like, there are so many habits that could be harnessed, that could really make people a lot sharper, a lot more focused, a lot more confident. I suggested the other day to someone, why don't you try having 20-minute meetings? And they were like, oh, we couldn't do that. Why? Like, because it's the fear of unknown, because you are expecting someone to reject it, but if you don't try it, how do you know? It's because you've never done it.
Yeah. And it comes back to structure as well, right? Like, I always understand to my with my clients, like, what are your peak performance hours?
Yes.
When would you write an exam? Like, if you were to choose a time of the day when to write an essay, what time would that be? Oh, it's 6 to 8. Okay, that's your deep work block, your undistracted deep work block. And then it's like, when's your human time? Like, when do you love speaking to humans? Like, mine's between 12 and 6. So, okay, cool. That's when you block out your meetings. And yeah, again, it's this productivity hamster wheel of this like busy work that doesn't actually really move the needle forward, but it makes you feel busy. And I check my emails once a day. Like, obviously, I know I'm in a different position to like a CEO, for example, but I think it's putting those boundaries in place, those digital boundaries too, and saying, hey, this is my number. Call me with emergencies. Anything else, I'll reply to your emails between 4 and 6 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's just having those boundaries and that structure.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. You can develop those when you're working, when either by yourself or you're like leading a team. But I think it's harder in Teams, because I've seen a lot of kind of overriding of things. So, for example, when you use Microsoft Teams, you can switch it to Do Not Disturb. When people do that, people still call them, or they still put meetings in their diary if they've blocked it with breaks, or like personal time or projects or whatever. So I think, this, so, and that's why I actually developed out a program that could help people with this, because I think one thing is always starting with self. It's always about like taking accountability and responsibility for our own actions. So we always start with creating a individual habit. And then as they go through the modules of my program, they start to look at, well, how do we operate as a team, and how do some of the habits that we have as a team affect our productivity? And not just productivity, it's like mental health, it's like resilience, energy, mood, everything. And then they can start to get creative on and actually come up with ideas, and then actually decide on one that they're going to commit to as a team. And I don't know anybody that's working in this way with companies. And that's really exciting, but also I've just got to make sure also that I stay fit and healthy so I can keep doing more of this work.
Well, you definitely will be. I see you at the gyms. Well, I see you at the village, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Yeah, like if there was one piece of advice that you would give someone listening to this episode today that's kind of going through the motions and they're not quite sure kind of what to do, where to go, they've got some unhealthy habits or they've got some things that they're struggling with, what would you suggest to them? Is there a specific tool or something?
So I would say get a blank notebook or a piece of paper and just start writing down what is in your mind. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. And I've just released my own journal which is just a blank notebook, because I don't think prompts works. I think it feels like very much like something you have to do. Whereas I think the easiest way to work out what's actually going on in your life is just to do a brain dump and just to write down, write down everything. And you'd be surprised. I think people think I'm starting to run actually interactive keynotes where we're doing this live with people. So we're giving them 10 minutes just to dump and see what happens. And we've got the first one coming up in a few weeks. And I think that is incredibly powerful. And there's another exercise you can do as well, which is a day in the life of yourself. And I do this live with people. So from the minute you wake up to the minute you close your eyes, like answer 2 questions. What are some of the habits you know that you're doing that are somehow negatively affecting you? And people typically write down things like scrolling, overeating, eating junk food, not taking breaks, not getting exercise, gossiping, whatever, all these things. And then you ask the opposite question: what are the things that give you energy? What are things that set you in a really high performing state? And then they list those out. And nobody ever has a problem listing these things. When you take a second and think about them and scan through your day, all of these things come up for you. And then I say to people, just choose one thing. What's one thing, one habit that you could start today and do it for the next 21 days, even if it was just for a few minutes a day? What's one thing that you think could help you? Which one thing would move the needle the most? And that could be like doing a brain dump every day. It could be going for a walk. It could be, going for a run, reading something positive, not looking at your phone first thing in the morning, last thing at night, whatever. It's cold showers. I'm like a massive, massive, massive fan. It could be anything. And I give people lots of ideas and then I get them to choose one. But I do think if you're in a state of confusion or anxiety, like trying to work out what's actually going on in your mind, because your mind is a very powerful machine and it likes to lie to you. I almost didn't start my business because my mind was making up lies like, you won't make this a success. What do you know about running a business? No one's ever going to pay you to speak about this. No one even cares. Like, that's what my mind was telling me. It's unreal. And I'm about to, go to Slovenia to speak at one of the biggest international conferences. And then after that, I'm going to Bulgaria to work with IBM leadership teams. Like, I've got so many exciting things coming up. And these are all things that I've created because I was able to overcome those thoughts. And a lot of those thoughts were these doubts and self-limiting beliefs and fears that weren't even real. Because how could it even been real when I hadn't even started yet?
Yeah, it's not real. We only ever live in the reality of our thinking. That's it. like we don't live in the reality of circumstance. We don't live in the world of circumstance. We live in the world of thought, and the eyeballs are just the lens in which we see the world. And
Yeah,
like,
so true, isn't it?
yeah,
And you know,
like,
one thing I've tried to do more as I've maybe because I've hit my 40s now, is just try to see life more as a game than something to kind of push and pull and stress and worry about all the time. Just like the more I think the more positive things you incorporate into your life. Like for me, I used to think all this stuff was a load of BS, to be honest. Like I used to think it all belonged up a mountain with the rest of the people that were sitting up there. And then of course now I'm one of those people. But to be honest, I think it was partly the way it used to be sold to you, all of these tools and techniques. And, you know, I used to think journaling and meditation was the biggest load of BS. But I think when you kind of break these things down and actually just see them as this is what it takes to be a human being, 101. This is how we are supposed to function as human beings. We are not supposed to be on our devices 24/7. We're not supposed to be eating junk food all the time. We're not supposed to be never walking. We're not supposed to be not spending time in like with humans, connecting. Like all the things that, you know, make you feel good are what I think are humans 101. But yeah, I think there's a lot of negative connotations. For example, exercise is a brilliant one. Like I signed up to so many gyms in my life and then just never went in them because I thought exercise had to be the gym and it had to be uncomfortable and it had to be difficult. And also, you know, you meet sometimes like personal trainers who are like, so what do you want to lose weight for? You're going to get married. You're getting married. Is that so you want to lose 2 stone for your marriage, for your weddings? And people don't talk about, you know, creating a healthy body so you can achieve your goals in your life. And for me, even in the gym, it still says things like cheat day and stuff like that. Like, why is having a burger a cheat? Like, why can't I just have a burger because I want a burger, but I just can't have one every day because that's not balanced. That's not going to be good for my body. But I think, you know, if you can retrain your brain, reframe things. So dancing, like one of the big habits that a lot of people do in my talks is like a kitchen dance party. I just think it's brilliant. I love it. I love the idea of like parents and kids dancing around to music for 10 minutes in the morning. I love it. And that is like not considered as exercise, but it's going to like create this insane energy for them for the day.
yeah. Honestly, I used to catch myself in that quite a lot of like quite militant, like having like I had to wake up and I had to do my journal, I had to do my book, I had to do my meditation, or I would have a bad day, or I had to do this. And I've cut all that out. I'm like, that is
Yeah.
bullshit. Like you
Yeah.
don't need these things to make you feel good. They should add to your life versus be a hindrance and feel like, oh my goodness, like I don't actually feel good today. Oh, it's because I haven't done my XYZ, blah 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 blah. And like even with like food and stuff as well, like I resonate with that. Like I used to be very militant with, right, can't eat this, can't eat that. And yeah, just like you said, like if you want a burger, have a burger. Like life's too short to be so like structured and kind of forced. Like just go with the flow. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But I do think there's a big difference, and this is really, really important message for anyone who's listening. There's a big difference between having all these positive habits that are grounding you and that you're doing regularly, versus, you know, giving yourself a kind of get out clause. You know the difference between like, so if there's a morning I wake up, so I do wake up more or less the same time every day. I do get up and I kind of do have a bit of a routine. But if there's a morning I wake up and I'm like, do you know what? I just want to walk to Bay Coffee. I want to have a coffee. I want to have a chat. I don't want to rush to get into the office today. I'm just going to chill this morning because that's what I feel like I need. That is very different. And that has taken me years to learn the difference between that and, oh, I'm just going to snooze my alarm and, you know, sack it off today. And I think once you reach that point, then I think life gets really, really exciting. But if you are just like making excuses for yourself, and if this is something you do regularly, like, oh, I'm definitely going to do that tomorrow, and then you sabotage yourself, then that's not the same thing. And they're very distinct.
Yeah, it's funny you explaining that because I've only recently hit that point, like literally over the last couple of months, where I was so dependent on those things. But now you're right. Like if you want to wake up and you listen to your body, you listen to yourself, and you understand intuitively, not as a form of avoidance, but actually, this is what I need today. I don't need to journal today. I feel like I'd benefit more from a walk instead. Okay, cool. Go and do that. Right. It's a lot freer. You feel like the shackles of life are kind of released a little bit, and you can just be a free spirit, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I still believe though, what works really well for people who are maybe a bit earlier on in this journey is committing to one thing for 21 days and try to stick to it every day. If you miss one day, it's okay. But and there are lots of things. So for me now, cold showers, it's just like every time I'm in a shower, it's going to be cold at the end. And it's not even something I think about anymore now. I love that wild animal energy. And it's not like I'm going to have a day, or it hasn't happened yet, where I'm like, oh, I don't really fancy a cold shower today. It's just who I am. I just take a cold shower. And same with like walking the dog or like, running. I don't do it every day. I ran every single day in 2025 for 10 minutes. And then I heard Roxy Nafusi speak. This is the second time I've heard her speak, and I actually got to meet her this time. And she said something similar, and it really made me reflect. And she just said, there's something in between, like being kind of like sabotaging yourself and then being so highly strung that you have to do all of these things. And there's something in the middle, and that's the place where I've reached now. And running 10 minutes every day during a year was like, I'm really proud and I learned a lot from it, but I don't have to run every day for 10 minutes. But I do run most days for 10 minutes, and it's there. And I know what makes me feel really good. So if I've got a big keynote or I'm feeling really crap or I'm stuck in my head, like a run, and that's the difference, I think. It's like these things it's almost like having a bag of tricks. Like, have you got a bag of positive habits that you can do, that you're confident in, that you know how to use them? And then I believe that there are some that you need daily to keep like the roots of the trees. And that's like sleep and nutrition and movement. And, for different people, it's going to be different things. For me, it's reading and filling my brain with good brain food. Like the amount of toxic stuff I've put in my brain over the years it's taken me years to rewire it to positive stuff. So like when people say like, oh, it's so relaxing to watch TikTok for half an hour when I get home from work, I'm like, oof, no.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why they say it. And I do understand. I think on a surface level, you do feel like it's relaxing, but it's so toxic.
It's just distraction, isn't it? It just switches your brain off from reality for a bit. But then obviously, like we spoke about earlier, you've got the puppets, you've got the puppeteers kind of pulling the strings from above you, and they're designed by the world's best psychologists to keep you hooked. Like, I've never been on TikTok, but I know for a fact that that's definitely a lot worse than Instagram, to my understanding, in regards to the algorithm and the reels and the videos. And yeah, it's crazy. What are the foundations or the pillars for someone to prioritize?
They're all the things. If you think about what does a human being need to function, to just be alive, it's those really boring basics. You know, we are sleeping. I read a study recently. Matthew J. Walker has written and spoken so much about sleep. He said we're sleeping 1 to 2 hours less a night than we were in 1960. That's quite a big difference, and no real surprise. And almost everyone, including me, years ago, used to wake up every single morning feeling exhausted. So, like, we get into this, I don't know if you've heard of this expression, revenge bedtime procrastination. So you know that your bedtime should be like, say, 9, 10 p.m., whatever it is, in order to get up at 5 or 6, whatever time you get up. We know that, 8 hours seems like a luxury, but it's actually like a really good target of sleep. But what happens is, especially if you've got kids, is by that window after once you've got your me time, like people stretch that out because they're like, I'm not ready for it to be over yet, because as soon as it's over, I've got to go back to a job. Like, I've got to go to work again. Even if they love their job, it's still very common. So sleep is really important, and having like a set bedtime and wake up time sounds so super boring, but it's so good for your mental health. Sleep, nutrition, we're consuming over 50% of our diet is ultra processed foods. And I get it, it's really hard sometimes to know whether what you're consuming is good for you or not. But again, I think, it's a great positive habit to actually cook from scratch. If you can, do some meal prep. Like, it doesn't have to take away your whole weekend. You can involve your family or your partner or your friends in it. And the better you eat, the better you feel. So for me, all these positive habits like movement, like all of this stuff, it has a ripple effect. And if you think about it, like, I mean, I hate to go take us back to dark 2020, but when Boris Johnson said, we're locking you down, you can only go out for a walk once a day, I remember seeing people on my street like out marching, people I'd never seen before and people I've never seen since. Like, I meet teams who work remotely or hybrid who can go from one week to the next without leaving the house. Like, that is not how we are designed to be.
No.
So if you look at our habits versus what a human being fundamentally needs to function and function at a basic level, then it's no wonder we are in a crisis.
Yeah. And it really is the digital world, isn't it? Like, everyone's more connected than ever, but everyone's more disconnected than ever at the same time.
Absolutely. And that's why before we started recording, we're talking about community and all these different communities that I've found myself to belong to, and it's just absolutely incredible. So I started a sea dipping community last summer, so it's been going about 9 months now, and we've grown from 3 people who I didn't know on that first day that I stood on the beach to sometimes we have 80 women, and we've got a group of over 500 people. It's just incredible. And we sent out a survey last night because we want to start to understand the impact, because this has also evolved. So we have a men's sea dipping community, and we also have a truck now, a mobile ice bath and sauna truck. So this whole movement is called Plunge. It's a not-for-profit movement. And I was looking at some of the survey results last night, and people are saying things like the Sunday morning is an anchor for them. So if people living alone or they just don't really prioritize themselves, they know that they have a time and a place where they're going to meet all this positive energy, and we're all going to do a hard thing together, which is going to give them loads of energy and natural, the good feel chemicals, and set them up for the week. And it's just unbelievable, really, that what seems like such a small thing can have such a profound impact on people. And we asked them to rate like how life-changing it is. And the majority of people have already said, 5 out of 5 is in terms of life-changing impact.
I completely agree. Like what we were speaking about before, the run club around here, like I live by myself, I'm single, I work by myself. Like you can get so isolated so quickly. And I've made a real conscious effort recently to really prioritize connection, like blocking time out in my day to like the run club. Or Friday I went to a paddle tournament where you just meet 25 people and you play paddle and you have pizza and beers or whatever. I don't drink, but anyway, and just trying new things as well, like just breaking out of your environment, the little box that you put yourself in, and just trying new things. Like Sunday I'm doing some wheel throwing pottery, like never done it before, but it's cool, right? And it just gets the juices flowing and just gets you thinking in a different way. And I think it's just so important. And I know for a fact, because obviously the background is addiction, so I know there's definitely going to be people in addiction, in some addictive loop one way or another, that's going to be listening. And Johann Hari, like I said to you earlier, has a quote, and it's the opposite of addiction is connection. So a lot of the time people are so lonely and so isolated. You can still be lonely in a crowded room. You can still be in a room and still feel lonely, right? So it's about understanding your emotions and yourself first, and putting yourself in those environments too, and collecting the data. Oh, I feel anxious in social situations. Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'm going to go work with someone to remove that, because if I remove that, then I'll be putting myself in more rooms. So if I put myself in more rooms, I'll be happier. And it's just this snowball effect, right? So that's why I love what you do, Kat, because it sounds like to me there's a lot of correlation between the work that we both do. And I feel like a lot of my clients or non-clients that listen to this will really, really resonate and will really kind of connect to you, not only your story, but also the habits and even the small changes that they can make every day.
Yeah, and you know the reason why, well, I'll just say thank you for saying that, because this is also my experience, that people actually want to hear from people who've got lived experience. I remember meeting this guy in the gym just before, I think I just started my business, and he was like a coach and ICF qualified and had done like a zillion qualifications, and he was working for BetterUp, which is one of the American like coaching apps. And he said, "Oh, so what coaching qualifications have you got?" And I said, "None. I mean, I've been a teacher. I'm a fully qualified teacher, but I have no qualifications. I have life experience, and I'm really, really good at getting people to taking them on a journey, to uncovering what is affecting them, and to giving them the tools to make a change." And that is something that I'm continuously improving and working on. And I'm living proof. I've done it to myself, and I've helped thousands of people do it. But for a moment, he almost rocked me. And whenever I hear people saying like, "Oh, I want to start this business," or "I want to, end this relationship," or "I want to do this in my life," and I just, you can hear often people like unconsciously trying to sabotage themselves with that self-doubt, or the fear that keeps us trapped. I remember Kevin O'Leary, I read this was the thing that this was literally, I read this and then I sent my resignation in, and it was for anyone who is an aspiring entrepreneur, this is a good quote for you. So Kevin O'Leary says that the salary that the job gives you is the drug to help you forget your dreams.
Love that.
Oof.
That's deep.
So yeah. And the other one that I've also lived by, which I love as well, is Albert Einstein. So he said that if you can imagine something, so basically your imagination is a preview of life's upcoming attractions. So I looked back at some like goal setting and vision boarding I did about a year and a half ago, and some of the things I wrote on it have already appeared in my life, and that's not been by accident, so the more I truly believe that whatever life you want, you can create it yourself. And I'm really on a mission, because I think a lot of people are suffering right now. And I think we also have to realize that life isn't meant to be easy all the time. It's not meant to be happy all the time. It's not meant to be easy and fun. Like, there's always going to be things that test us and challenge us. But I think we've got used to like life just should be easy, and it's just not. And I think that for me, I'm building an extraordinary life, and I got one chance to be here. I lost my mum when I was 4. She didn't get a chance to build an extraordinary life, and she was an extraordinary person. And I nearly lost my life at 34. And so now at 44, I'm like, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if I'm living by society's rules or not. I care, like, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be proud of the life that I was living? Would it feel truly aligned? And I can honestly say yes at this moment in time. And I haven't been able to say that in the past. And I think what a sad waste of a life to not come here and truly be the person you were meant to become.
I know. That's why I've got I haven't got my personal phone here. I haven't got any phone, but that's why I've got a sand timer as my wallpaper on my phone, because we've all got a sand timer and we've got a finite amount of sand and we don't know how much is left in the timer. And
Yeah.
I know it's deep, but it's true, right? Like, you got to live your life. And when you were talking about quotes and kind of living your life and stuff, something came to mind, and it's Carl Jung's quote, and it's, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you'll call it fate." And it's so true, right? Like, if you yeah, like if you keep the unconscious beliefs keep holding you back, like the self-doubt or whatever, like you'll just be like, yeah, like that's just who I am. But you need to bring it to the conscious mind. You need to work through it and actually process it to be able to move on. And I think that's really, really important for people to listen and to hear and understand too. It's like we fall victim to our lives. Like that's just the life that I've got. I just work in a job that I hate. I just hate my partner. I just hate this, hate that. Like it's just all just, yeah, that's just the cards I've been dealt. But actually, it's not. Like
Yeah.
you can truly create, and I've really seen this again recently, like since I've started working with my own coach and doubling down on my own coaching, I've really understood like, oh, you really can create anything, literally
Anything.
anything.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And to me, and one of the other things I want to share, because I think it's someone else said it on my podcast, so I can't take credit for this. This was Ian Burnell, who's created the a one in a lifetime job. He's the global ambassador of rum. Would you believe he created that whole thing? Wasn't even like a job title he stole from someone else. And he said the other week on my podcast, he said, rather than imagining what's the worst that could happen, imagine what's the best that could happen. And whenever I think about like goals or things that I want to do in my life that feel really, really hard or almost impossible, I think, but hang on, what is the best possible outcome for this? And honestly, you can't help but smile when you think what's the best possible outcome. And I think just be brave enough to dream and go for it.
A lot of people think, what if it doesn't work out? But it's like, what if it does work out?
Yeah. What if it does? And what if it's better than you imagined?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really is true. Like I can't stress it enough. Like that's why I get my clients to create their perfect life. Well, usually once we've shifted the initial blockers, we'll map out how do you want to wake up? What breakfast do you want to be eating? How do you want to spend your day? What work do you want to be doing? And it's like, all right, cool. Well, let's try and get a client of mine actually. She's an online fitness coach and she lives in Marbella. And we sat down and we did this. And she was like, yeah, my perfect day is like, I can't remember exactly now, but it was X, Y, and Z. And we both looked at it at the end of the call and we thought, well, you can actually do that from Monday. So she changed her diary around and she's now doing it and she's living her perfect day now. And she was stuck in that loop of unconsciously falling victim to, well, I just have to do this, I have to do that. But actually, she's now created her perfect structure and her perfect day and week, and she's now living that. So I think it's so true. So, so true.
Sometimes you're just like one mindset shift away from it. Like I remember this Italian guy, he was a sales director of one of the companies I worked with quite early on in my business. And he came on the podcast because he'd had such a profound kind of almost awakening from making one small change. And he shifted, like in the keynote, I talk about why do we give the worst of ourselves to the people we love the most. So we wake up, we go on autopilot, we give everything to our work, to jobs, you know, everyone else. And then we get home and the people we love get the absolute tail end of us. And why does it have to be like that? Because that's all we know, because that's how we've been conditioned. So he's got a family and he started waking up earlier instead of snoozing his alarm. And he says this sweetest thing in this beautiful Italian accent. And he says, you know, sometimes me and my wife, we read a book together or we have a coffee or sometimes we play a game. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, imagining this family, like doing this before they go to work is almost unheard of. And because it feels so alien and I get so much pushback whenever I share that story. But it's only because we have been conditioned for years and years and years and years to do it the other way around. And actually, in reality, how many people are reading a book to each other? How many people are playing a game of cards after work? Like almost no one, because people are too tired. So, like, why couldn't it be the other way around? And it's just a thought, like it could be.
Exactly. Yeah. It really is just creation, isn't it? Creating relationships as well. I've got a recording that I send to my clients and it's creating the relationships that you want to create. Like you don't need to fall victim to the relationship. You can actually consciously create the relationship or anything that you want. So yeah, if you jumped off this this episode and you put your headset down and you were like, oh, I wish I said that one final thing on Jake's podcast, what would it be?
You get one life. You just get one life. And if you remind yourself that you can create anything you like, and if you don't believe it's true, write it down, because you'll realize that or actually, no, I would also say read the chimp paradox and then write it down, because you'll realize that you have all these deep rooted fears and self-limiting beliefs that have almost so likely come from other people, not intentionally. Like my dad didn't mean to, add to, what happened, but he did unconsciously put so much pressure on me from a very, very young age. But as an adult, we have a choice, we have a responsibility to take ownership of our lives. Like, you are in control of your life, and you have a choice to accept that and make a change, or to say, okay, no, this is just my life and this is how I'm going to live it. And I suspect most people listening to this will agree with that, and will start writing some stuff down.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And sometimes there tends to be a blocker as well, like exactly what you said, like the stories that someone tells, the stories from their parents, or a lot of the time it's messages from school, like teachers telling them, no, you
Yeah.
can't do that. So many of my clients experience that. It's like, oh, a teacher at 10 told me I couldn't do that, and I'm still carrying that around 20,
So
30 years later.
sad.
I
Yeah.
know.
And thank God they find people like you to
Yeah.
help them unlock that.
Yeah, because now, well, when they do, they can truly let go of that, and that's the magical thing, right? It's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, where can people find you, Kat? If they like your work, or if they like kind of what you've said, or they want to find out a little bit more, where's the best way for people to reach out?
So my website is katthorne.com, and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. Yeah, just send me a message and we can have a virtual coffee, or if you're local, we can meet up in person. And yeah, I'm always willing to chat to people for like 20 minutes, even if it's just to kick some ideas around. I think it's really important.
Beautiful, beautiful. Cool. Well, thank you so much for jumping on, and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, keep spreading the message, keep spreading the word.
And your work is also incredibly inspiring, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Jake.
Me too. Cool. Thanks, Kat.